by the time I got to this program called SEAL Training, I went through Hell Week. I made it through Hell Week 2 times.
How did you even get there? Like, how did you end up? We skipped that part. How did you end up at the military?
So I ended up selling a drug dealer, like 20 phones. It's a lot more to the story. It's all in my book, man.
It's a good start right there.
Yeah, it's a lot. I sold him 20 phones. They cut off in 2 weeks. And initially I didn't want to sell him the 20 phones because because he came to me, he wanted to do phones in bulk. And I said no, and he kind of, manipulated me or talked me into it. And so I sold him a bulk, all good. Sold him another bulk, all good. Sold him another bulk, all those phones cut off in like 2 weeks.
He ain't happy now.
He ain't happy because what I found out he was doing, instead of dispersing them to his crew, he was flipping the phones. Because he's, being a drug dealer in the Bronx, in New York City, it's one on every corner. It's hot. It's a lot of risk. It's less risky to, hustle. Nobody really understands how the laws and the systems around cell phones. And so how can you get prosecuted? And this seems like a safe bet where you can make a lot of money. It's less risky. Same thing with human trafficking, especially organ harvesting. Traffickers are beginning to realize that it's a lot less risky to do organ harvesting than it is to traffic, because there's more of a paper trail with trafficking, because you're sending the victim out and somebody could come wrap them up at any time, and then you get exposed. Organ harvesting, you harvest somebody's body, your organs, burn them up, nobody knows anything. You pull somebody from one part of the globe, like I did in the short film, put them in another part of the globe, nobody in that other part of the globe knows where they are, nobody in the globe part of the globe they were is going to expect that they're going to be in Venezuela. Same reason why those traffickers took that girl from Texas and moved her to Oklahoma. Yes. You know what I mean? So, sorry, I know I went down a tangent.
No, unfortunately, it makes sense.
Yeah. But I say all that to say, he was trying to move differently. I sold him these phones. They cut off early. He came. Not only was my life threatened, my mom's life was indirectly threatened, because it was like he was
right. He's pissed.
He's pissed.
Yeah,
we're talking a lot of money. Gave him his money back that night. Good chunk of the money back that night. Gave him the rest back the next day. And then that was my wake-up call. That was my...
How old are you?
I'm 19. This is December 2001.
So high school's over.
High school's over.
You're still doing entrepreneurial street scams.
Yep.
And you have a wake-up call.
Yep.
How does that wake-up call translate into, I'm going to go join the Marines?
So for 6 months... Well, for the first 2 months, I went hard to try and get a label deal. I had a meeting at Def Jam with Kevin Lyles. Sat in his office, played him the CD. He stopped halfway through, was like, "You want to hear something better?" I was like, as soon as he said that, my head dropped, because I'm like, dang, that means I ain't getting a deal. And then he put in a CD.
Kanye.
Joe Buttons.
Oh, shit.
He was like, "I got this new dude, just signed him. He hasn't come out yet. Here's his first song. This is what you need to be like." He plays a song, and then at the end, he's like, "This is the type of music I want." And then that kind of ended my career. Joe Buttons ended my music career. And then, one day in June of 2002, long story short, I feel something tell me you need to get out of here, and the way out is the military. And years earlier, when I was 15, I saw a movie called Bad Boys. That was that
great movie,
fantastic movie, classic. Movie. That was the first time I saw two black men who, looked like me, and they were heroes, and that planted a seed in my mind that essentially said you could be something other than a drug dealer, rapper, or athlete. You could still maintain who you are, but be a hero. You don't have to do the things you do. It planted the small inception in my mind. And then about 2 years later, another movie came out called The Rock.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the first time I saw or heard of Navy SEALs. And that's when I was like, yo, if I ever turn my life around, I'm not saying I will, but if I ever turn my life around, I would do that. And so, fast forward to June of 2002, when I felt something say, you need to get out of it, you need to join the military. That's when I said, screw it. Let me see, I ain't got nothing else to go on for me. My brother's in college at this point. I'm 19, about to turn 20, living in my mom's apartment. My life had not amounted to anything. Why not? So I ran down the street I grew up on, went into the Marine recruiter's office first, sat there for like 15 minutes. Nobody showed up. There was coffee on the desk, but nobody showed up. Left, went a couple doors down to the Navy recruiter's office, a beautiful Navy recruiter in there by the name of Tiana Nadine Reyes. And in my mind, I'm thinking not only am I getting the Navy, but I'm about to make her my girlfriend. But she saw through all my stupidness because she was from the Bronx. She served in, joined from the Bronx, served in the fleet, then came back to kind of give back to people in the Bronx, and had me do a practice ASVAB test. Passed that score high enough to get a Navy, but didn't score high enough to be a SEAL. And then she ran my background, found I had 2 warrants out for my arrest. I had a warrant here in New Jersey, where we at, and I had a warrant in New York. And when she said that,
for the phone stuff, or
that's what I was about to. So I got up as soon as she said that. I ran because that's what I thought it was for. I was like, oh my God, because there were people before I left. Because I left. Not only did I leave, stop doing what I was doing. After that had happened with the drug dealer, I also left the company because I was scared that because the phones cut off early, I thought that I was going to get prosecuted because there were people getting caught prosecuted for federal crime. And so that's what I thought it was for. And she stopped me at the door right before I got there. And she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm getting out of here." She said, "You got a suit?" I said, "No." She said, "You got nice shirt, some nice pants?" I was like, "Sure, I'm sure I could find something." She said, "Come back tomorrow." I said, "For what?" She said, "Come back tomorrow. Just come back. Stop being stupid and listen to me." And, growing up in the streets of the Bronx, I tell people this all the time. You got to learn how to read people, especially when you're doing the kind of stuff I was doing. It means the difference between life and death. And this would all serve me well when I got into human intelligence in the teens, because I could tell when a source was lying to me, or whether a source wanted to give me some information but they were holding back, or whether a source was a double agent just trying. But I was able to read that because I grew up around these type of characters my whole life, where I had to read people, and I didn't know what she was going to do. But from what I read, from her reaction, had been with her for an hour or so, I knew that it would be good. So I came back the next day. She was in her dress uniform. She drove me down here to Jersey.
Don't worry about the warrants.
She drove me down to Jersey, put me in front of the judge, advocating on my behalf. She was like, "Listen, this kid's made mistakes, but he still has potential. Can't join the military, with a criminal record or warrants. 9/11 just happened, by the way, Judge." I was
leaving that out here because you're in New York.
I'm in New York. I saw the Twin Towers come down.
No shit.
I saw the Twin Towers come down. I went and my mom woke me up, and she was, when it all happened, when the first plane hit the building, she was like, "Oh my God, we under attack." And, I heard like fire trucks and sirens going off all around the neighborhood, just nonstop going around the neighborhood, cars flying, driving back and forth. And this girl who I was dating at the time, she called me up. She was like, "Come here." So I went to her building, went to the roof, and we watched from the roof. The Twin Towers come down, and she went to watch because her cousin worked the windows of the world.
Oh my God!
Yeah, single mom, worked the windows of the world as a waitress.
Was she?
She was. They never found her.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Never found her.
That was the top floors. No one survived up there.
Yeah, they never found her, and so went to that first courthouse. That judge cleared my record. Just had to clear my record. Just had to pay like a court fee or fine or whatever. Then she took me to New York.
Nice
the New York judge. Yeah. Well, she advocated. She put in the work. She was like, she had on a dress uniform, everything.
Yeah. And good for her and good for him though too.
Yeah, man. And took me to the judge in New York. The courthouse was blocks away from Ground Zero. And
this is right at. Oh my God.
Yeah, this is they still doing cleanup. This is June 2002. Yeah.
You can actually remember the movie. What was it? 25 Hours. 25. By Spike Lee. Ed Norton's in it. Late Tony Saragusa.
Okay, I know I heard of it, but I never saw it. Yeah,
it's like he filmed it right after.
Oh, okay.
And so they show it, like you see it.
Yeah.
It wasn't in Brookfield Place, but they have a scene where it's right above Ground Zero. And I don't know, that movie, it's a obviously fictional movie that had a very real thing around it, but when people look at that and you realize like, oh my God, they were filming this, like that's what you were seeing. I mean, I get emotional going to that spot today. After that, how it looked, literally Ground Zero just I can't even fathom that.
Yeah, and here's the crazy thing. The architect of the Twin Towers was my dad's friend. And
right.
He designed, and my dad was on the board, and he designed the Twin Towers that was supposed to stand in the center of Lagoon City.
Oh my God.
And here I'm at the courthouse, blocks away from where Ground Zero was, and this woman standing in front of the judge like, "Yo, give this guy a chance."
That's some divine
can't make that up.
Yeah, you can't make that up, man.
So, and yeah, man, and the judge was like, all right, expunge your record. And paid the court fines, court fees, whatever it was. And then she went a step further, fudged the paperwork, sneaked me into the Navy. And that's how I got in. So I tell people all the time, you know, I'm patriotic now. I wasn't then. As a matter of fact, I didn't want to join. Like, I hated I hated the police. You know what I mean? I saw a lot of stuff happen. I got, and I associated anybody in the uniform as the police, whether you were Marine, Navy, paramedic, whatever. And so that was not a patriotic decision. That was a life or death decision. That for me was like, if I don't leave the Bronx, I'm going to end up dead or in prison.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. Please hit that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.